Hello and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show.
Welcome to one of the internet's best podcasts, where we dive deep into the lives of the extraordinary and fascinating people who leave an indelible mark on our world. Join us as we explore their captivating stories, remarkable achievements, and unique perspectives that shape history and inspire generations. Get ready to embark on a journey through the lives of inspiring people unlike any other.
Welcome to the show. My name is Avrum Rosensweig, and I'm very delighted to be back with my partner, Rabbi Shlomo Gemara, in our podcast, Parsha and Prose. How are you, Rabbi?
Baruch Hashem, it was a long time since we had this podcast before, and I'm very happy to be back.
I'm really happy you are, and I missed you a lot. You
Thank
had
you.
a hiatus this summer in Israel. Not everything went well. You lost your dad.
That's right. It was a very difficult summer. My father was not young. He was pretty old. He enjoyed 96 years of life. And many people said, oh, he was an old person. That by itself should console me somehow. And to a certain degree, it is. But I explained to people that sometimes it's even harder because my father was like the Titanic, the unsinkable ship of the family. Every time we came from Toronto to visit Israel, he was fine, he was smiling, he was healthy, he went to shul, he went to family occasions and events. It was just like he defeated the angel of death. And this time when I came, actually the first few days, my father, Zichrono Livracha, was fine. And then things just deteriorated very soon, very fast. And Tisha B'Av, he was hospitalized, and just a few days after, he passed away.
Your father's name was Elazar Tzvi.
Right.
Zachenu Livracha.
A Kohen. He was
A Kohen.
very proud of being a Kohen. And, my father davened in the same shul for, I believe, something like 50 years. And this is the center of Petah Tikva. Not too many young people are coming because it's very expensive there. And you might guess that in this age, you lose friends over time. And for many years, he was the only Kohen to give the brachot, and he was excited about it. I do remember the first time that he took me to this shul to have the Birkat Kohanim. It was very exciting, and he was very proud to be a Kohen.
Are Kohanim generally excited on the morning of the Duchening?
I can tell you that I personally miss it here in Chutz La'aretz because the custom here in Chutz La'aretz, at least by most Ashkenazi communities, is not to have Duchening, Birkat Kohanim every day. You do it only on the holidays. And I have to tell you that I miss it. One thing that I really love to do when I'm in Israel is to go to Birkat Kohanim. Such a privilege, such an opportunity to bless the Jewish people that I really miss it here. Excited, in a way, I would say in a way, yes, it's a great opportunity. And people running to all kind of righteous people, and they give them pidyon, they give them lots of money to get the bracha. And here Hashem himself send the bracha through his kohanim. You should be excited.
You hold your fingers out as the Kohanim do?
Of course. What's the question?
Is this when you're there, are you in a place of real spirituality? Do you feel in the zone?
I try to think through the words of Birkat Kohanim about all the people who needs bracha, the sick people, the people who need shalom bayit, the people who need shidduchim, our soldiers on the borders, the simple people who need parnasa. I try to think about all of them. Obviously, in mind, I always had my parents. Now I will have my mom, and other people that I know, and hopefully Hashem listens to the bracha, and through me, I'm just a channel to channel the brachot. I hope that Hashem send His blessings to Am Yisrael. We
When
need a lot of them.
Amen, amen. When you would go up and duchen with your father, was that a type of bonding between the two of you?
Uh, Listen, Kohanim don't speak to each other, but there is a shared pride, I would say. Like being a Kohen is, your family, you are from the descendants of Aaron a Kohen. You shared something even without saying it. And you know what? I don't think that we speak a lot about. We spoke a lot about the fact that we are Kohanim. It's not something that you like go with the badge of honor. I'm a Kohen. Um, but there is something there that sometimes pops up in discussions, and I know 100% that my father was. He felt very privileged to be belong to this dynasty of Kohanim.
I mean, I have to tell you from my perspective, when I'm in a room and someone will either say, "Oh, yes, I'm a Cohen," or they will be pointed out as such, my response, and this is not exclusive to me, is, "Oh, you're a Cohen." It's like a kavod,
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing that I think we spoke about it that in all Rome, ancient Rome, today you can track one family to Julius Caesar. The I can't remember the name of this family at this point, but Orsini, the Orsini family claims at least that they descendants of Julius Caesar. One family. That's it. No one else can tell you. I'm Claudius was my Zayde, and Augustus was my great father. They lost track, but we have here like maybe 200, 250 generations that we know who was our forefather.
Yes.
It was Aaron a Cohen and his children, and I think it's quite significant.
As mentioned, your father, Zachareni Levracha, his name was Elazar Tzvi. People called him Tzvi. He was 96 years old when he passed away. What was he like, Rabbi?
First of all, he was a father, and I'm sure that every father is different, but there is a common denominator to all of them. They care about you. They want to see you successful. They shape nachat when you do good things, and they are disappointed when you don't. So first of all, this is a father. One of the rabbis who came for Nichum Avelim to the Shiva told me a very interesting story about Reb Chetzkel Abramsky, who was a very famous Rosh Yeshiva of the Yeshiva of Hebron, and he lost his mother when he was 84 years old. His mother passed away when she was 103, and he was crying. And someone said, "Rabbi, you are like 82. And your mother, Baruch Hashem, she said, you don't understand. Tomorrow, no one is going to call me kinderle." And there is something in this kinderlach. We are kinderlach of our father that we are going to miss forever, unfortunately. So that's first of all. He was a father. But he was a special, simple person. My father was not a rabbi. He did not preach to the masses. But the more we grew up, we learned to appreciate this consistency, the way that, about my father, they say something that they will never be able to say about me. He never fought with any person, Avrum. Never, ever. Was always smiling to everyone, always nice to everyone, did not speak behind the back about anyone. He was just a positive person. And this is kind of lesson that, sometimes you don't realize. My father never said, don't fight with people. But as you grow up, you learn it and you try to behave in a certain way. Listen, not always you successful in it, but obviously it's there. The way that he, until a month before he passed away, he went 3 times a day to shul, no help. He was excited to be before everyone else in shul, to leave shul after davening. He went to many like Torah lessons in his life. Unfortunately, he never learned in yeshiva. The years of the war, he had to be with the family. Maybe we can talk about it later. In hospitable places, we are talking about Siberia and places like this. You can imagine that there was no yeshiva there. But my father loved to learn. He loved to learn, and he used every opportunity. Especially when he was older, doesn't have to, work. When he retired at the age of 65, as it used to be then in Israel, I think the first day after he retired, he went to the Brookdale program in Bar Ilan to learn Jewish history. He really loved to learn, and he went. I remember the child, like there was a shir of Rabbi Munk in Petach Tikva. There was a shir of Rabbi Tzur. He always went. My parents, as they got older, even I learned that they are members on Zoom in many, many classes. He really loved to learn. And again, I can't remember even one time that he said it's important to learn. He didn't have to. We knew that it's very, very important. And indeed, Baruch Hashem, my 3 siblings, and I hope myself also, are well educated.
Rabbi, did you have a sense, or do you have a sense that your father knew who you are?
You know what? One thing I heard from my father many, many years ago, he said, he quoted someone who said that a person never know really his children. I can't remember what inspired this quote, but I think that he knew very well, he sensed very well, intuitively, that your children are not like you always. It might be different. And especially while there was like a geographical gap, I was here most of my adult life and professional life, and he was in Israel. And yes, of course, we met over the year, but I'm not sure that he got a full sense of what I did. But he many, many times said that he's very, very proud of having someone in educational leadership. I think it was very, very important to him that education in general was important for him. Jewish education was highly important for him, and the fact that myself and his son was in a leadership position of Jewish education meant a lot for him. If he knew exactly what I'm doing or not, it was not that important. He just knew that I'm heavily involved and my life are around Jewish education, and this gave him certainly lots of nachat.
Rabbi, what was the Shiva like?
So this is a very good question, because I was very fortunate until now, Baruch Hashem, not to see Shiva. So I always saw Shiva from the side of the people who come to console the mourners. This was the time that I was the subject of the Shiva. People came to be Menachem, myself and my family. Obviously, because many of my friends are in Toronto, they could not come. Many of them sent me messages or even contacted me by phone. Many met me after I came back to Toronto. But I could see like the family that my father left. I have to tell you, like I was amazed with the amount of people who came to visit my sisters, my brother. I'm talking here about hundreds, possibly even thousands of people who came because eh, my siblings are heavily involved in their communities. Number one, number two, they are professionals. My two sisters are very well-known doctors, each one in her field. My young brother, is a psychologist, again, very involved beyond his professional work with helping many people, youth in troubles and so on. So to me, the Shiva was a way to see my siblings in a different way that I never saw. When you have to understand my history. When I was 13 years old, my parents sent me to Yeshiva High School. Yeshiva High School at the time was a place that you came back home once in 3 weeks. What about vacations? The Chofesh Gadol. We went to Bnei Akiva. We had camps, and I was very active in Bnei Akiva. Then I went to yeshiva. I went to the army. I got married. I sat in a kollel and learned. Then I went to Toronto. The truth is that I never had the opportunity to live together with my family for a substantial time. And odd and weird as it sounds, the first time that I was with my siblings for a full week was the Shiva time.
Yes.
And with all the sadness, I say to myself, wow, my father left a beautiful family.
Yes. It's a fascinating thing about Shiva. How was your mother in all this?
Very strong. Beyond our expectation. My father and my mother were not only husband and wife, they were good friends, and I would say almost the only friends. They had each other all the time. My mother leaned on my father in many, many things. My father leaned on her on many other things. And, my father, when the doctors and we told him the severity of the situation, he first of all, he was cool in a way, like not panic, not in any, not depressed. But the first sentence he said, this is going to be a terrible crisis for mom. That's what he thought about. Immediately when he grasped what's going on and that his days are numbered, this was his only concern. And we asked him if we should tell Ima. And he said, no, I don't know who will tell her. And eventually when she came to visit him, he told her the news. He wanted to do the last, I would say, like a farewell or something like this, to tell her himself what the situation is. And my mother, listen, when you come to this age, you know that, you are not going to live another 100 years. But I assume that everyone wants to stick with the family, to live another day, another week, another month, if it's not involved with suffering or something like this. And my mother heard the news when we came from the hospital after my father passed away. And obviously she was crying. But immediately she started to think, okay, what is going to be next? She asked my sister, to find an apartment next to her so she can be closer to, now she lost her husband, she closer to the children. And I just spoke to her a few minutes ago. She hold herself. And, we always say in the Levaya, that the niftar, the deceased person, is going to be Melitz Yosher, first of all, for his spouse. And I guess that my father is doing a very good job there.
How do you talk to your mom?
In what way? Like,
Is it a son to a mother? Do you have discussions about issues and things? Not now, obviously, but is it just mom? How are you doing?
Um, Many times, yes. Just to hear what's going on, to share a little bit. My mother always complained that we don't share too much with her.
Parents do,
Uh,
really, yes.
I guess that many parents feel the same. I feel the same many times with my children. And at the same time, I know, they live their life. Not everything I supposed to know. Sometimes children are afraid that parents will be over involved. Today, I know that maybe this was the concern not in place. Like parents want to know, they want to help. They want to feel like a family. We don't always understand it, unfortunately. Sometimes it was involved more serious issues, especially like concerning the family. But obviously, I guess that most of the discussions about more serious issue were with my siblings because, as I told you, like from the age of 13, I was not much at home.
Rabbi, I know that you have a poem that you want to read, but before you do, I just want to ask you, how are your children with all of this, and even your grandchildren?
They were amazing. I must say that. The time that my father was in the hospital in Bellinson, and they did unbelievable job, telling him what's going on in full honesty, at the same time full sensitivity. The way they treated him was beyond um, the words we can express our gratefulness. But with it, I must say, all the children and the grandchildren were around the bed of my father 24/7, and I mean it 24/7. You cannot do it if you don't have many grandchildren who are willing to come and to be there all the time. And we try also that they will be at a time like this when my father was in the hospital, also with my mother. Um, this was quite amazing. My father, when he opened his eyes after a night of sleeping, or he knew that always someone is there, which is incredible. The medical staff told us like no one there. There were like more than 40 people in the ward of the geriatric ward. They said there is nothing like this. And indeed, we saw like, people come for an hour and a half, sometimes once in 2-3 days. So they were amazing. All the grandchildren who could come came. Number one. Number two, in the Shiva, wow, this was like, like a union station. People coming, people going, always something on the table. If someone need food, to arrange the food. They were just wonderful. And again, for me, as kind of a guest, I would say, I never had the opportunity to interact with my nieces, with my nephews, and it was the first time that I had the opportunity, like to learn a little bit about them and to see them, and they are wonderful. So yes, this was a long answer to a short question. They were amazing.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing about Shiva. And then finally, Rabbi, I was with my mother, God bless her soul, when she took her very last breath. It's a daunting thing to be with somebody when they take their last breath. And it's something that has stayed with me since she has passed. You were with your father when he took his last breath. What was that like for you?
Right. That's very interesting that you said, because I ask myself like when it will stop hunting me, and actually you say it will stay with you forever. Um, okay, the story goes like this. I was with my father. Indeed, my other siblings were supposed to come a little bit later. The doctor actually in the morning he called me and he said, I think that your father has something between 6 to 8 hours. Maybe you should call your siblings. And I immediately called them, but one had to come from Yerushalayim. The other one was busy with the medical appointment. The other one had to come from Yad Binyamin. So it happened that I was there. And I understood that something changed. When I came back after a discussion with the doctor, I said, this is not going to be 6 to 8 hours. I'm not a doctor, but I saw a change. And I started all the tefillot that usually you say in the time of Yetziat Neshama, like Barchi Nafshi, and I even sang to him a song that he really loved from the Zmirot of Shabbat, a few Parkim of Tehillim that you're supposed to say at the time of Yetziat Neshama, and Mamash, before the last breath, I said with him, not with him, he was not awake, but I said the Shema Yisrael, Baruch Shem Kol Malchuto L'Olam Va'ed, Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach. It was a very sacred moment. I wouldn't say uplifting, but there is something of awe being when a person returns peacefully his neshama to the Creator. But the change from being alive to the moment that the person is no longer with you is exactly as you said, is very haunting moment. Now, because I'm a Kohen is not allowed to be with dead people, so I never was with a dead person in proximity. After they died, the only case that I had to be was in the army. There was once we had a day of war with the Syrian, and not far away from me, a soldier was killed from a sniper in a direct hit. So I saw his body not far away from me. But this was the first time that I was with a dead person, with my father in the room. I all my life was very, very fearful of that this moment will come, that I will find myself, especially I never imagined that I will be alone. But at the same time, I'm very grateful to God that He put me there at this time. It was a moment of, can't explain, just a transitional moment. And not easy on one hand. At the same time, you are very, very grateful that you were next to your father, the person who gave you your existence, when he returned back, to Olam Haba, to the infinite world. Very, very important, heavy, and at the same time exalting moment that will stay with me forever, I guess.
Thank you for sharing all of this with us. Rabbi, you have a poem to read.
I want, in the Levaya, my brother read a poem of Yehuda Amichai. Yehuda Amichai was an Israeli poet, and he had a very Israeli feeling and a very profound insight into people, into life. And I want to read a very short poem and a little bit longer, short, but a little bit longer, that I found very appropriate and fitting to who my father was. So I will read the first 3 lines of the short poem, and he said the following: Avi היה אלוף העולם בהסברת פנים. I'm going to translate it in a second. עכשיו הוא מת. העולם צריך להסביר פנים לעצמו. And the translation in English is going something like this. My father was the world champion of smiling with kindness, of welcoming, with true love and a white smile. Now he's dead. The world must learn to smile like that to himself. And my father was exactly this person. He was always smiling, always positive about people. He never saw the negativity in people. when we came, or the children, or the grandchildren, or the great-grandchildren came, always with a smile and a hug, unjudgmental, no matter what. And like his smile is going to be missed thoroughly. The welcoming, the positivity that was always around him. This is something that we will all miss, and hopefully we'll be able to carry on somehow. But I want to, as I say, to read another poem, which is a little bit longer, and I guess that he wrote it about his father, Yehuda Amichai, and it's called Tzadik Nistar, a hidden righteous man. And he writes the following. I will read like stanza by stanza. אבי היה צדיק נסתר, אפילו מעצמו הסתתר, לבש בגדי צניעות כמו בגדי עבודה, וביצריו עבד קשה. My father was a righteous man in hiding. So well he hid, he fooled himself as well. He wore his modesty like work clothes, and labor steady with his hungers. היה נוהג לומר תהילים בקול נמוך, ובקול רם קרא מחיר של ירקות. בבוקר בירך הלחם ויצא לשוק, בערב בירך הלחם וחזר. He said his psalms in a voice so low, but called out prices loud in the market. Morning, he blessed the bread and left. Evening, he blessed the bread and came home. לא ראה פני אלוהים, רק את פני אדם. אבל פניו שלו היו פני אלוהים ואני לא ידעתי. He never saw the face of God. He only looked into the face of men. But his own face was God's, and I never knew it then. רק אחרי מותו, כשהלך לו בצעדיו השקטים, נשארו עקבותיו בי, והן המוליכות אותי עד היום. Only when he left the world, his steps, as quiet as before, did his footprints stay behind in me, and they are leading me still. And honestly, like when I read the lines, this was my father, like a person who did not know that he's actually a righteous person. And I guess that over time we will discover more and more of it. Some people on the Shiva came, and my father was their manager. They were the people that he worked with, and he was like a manager of an office. So they told me, your father treated us always with dignity, always with smile, always tried to help us. Now, these are things that we never knew. Like, I never met these people before. So I guess that over time we will hear more and more about my father. Things that he hid, and he never made a fuss about himself. On the contrary, he always taught us not to take things too seriously in life. My father was a walking Jewish encyclopedia of humor. He knew every Jewish joke by heart, and not only that, he always knew to use it in the right time, perfectly in the right time. And as I said in the hesped to my father, he was not like a joker. My father was not like this person who always like need to tell a joke and to draw the attention of people around him. On the contrary. But my father had a certain way to look upon life, not to take himself too seriously, not to take life too seriously, not to take people too seriously when they maybe offended him or did something wrong. And that's for sure something that I inherited from him. I look sometimes on things and I say, this could be like a good matter for a good joke, but I don't know the joke. My father would know what to say in a situation like this.
In conclusion, I want to say that a legacy is generally very important to men, to people, and it's very clear that part of your father's legacy, God bless his soul, is you.
The children, absolutely.
Okay, folks, we're back. It's called Parsha and Prose. And
But Avrum, if I can,
yeah.
I want to mention one more thing because I think it's very, very important. You once told me that actually you write or help people write their story. I, although at the time I also understand why it is important, I cannot exaggerate how important it is to me today. Because eventually you want to tell your children, you want to tell your grandchildren who your father was, especially when you have to tell, and I'm sure that every person has something extraordinary about him. I think that your podcast is actually to show that even regular people like myself, like others, have a story, have something to share with the world. And I would say people should take the opportunity and to get the help they need to write their story. People pay attention to stories. People pay attention, and they might learn something about you or about your parents or about someone you loved that they didn't know. And if you are not going to bother to write it down and to share it with the world, no one will know about it.
And Rabbi, in that light, my son gave me this book. I don't know if you can see it, might be backwards.
Dad, yeah.
It says, Dad, I want to hear your story. And essentially, it's about 100 pages and asks different questions on each page about my life. And I've been writing it every morning or most mornings after my daf yomi.
Wow.
And then, Rabbi, once it's finished, once it's filled up, I give it back to my son.
So he wrote it, or like he wrote the
So he
questions?
bought me this book on Amazon, and the book asks questions of where were you born, who were your siblings, what were your favorite movies, tell us about some of the most important points in your life, and it's about 100 pages, as I said,
Wow.
and when I'm finished, it'll be somewhat of a legacy piece, which I will give back to my boy.
What a beautiful idea. Yeah, it's a beautiful idea. I will make sure that I buy this book. If I would know before, I would use it because indeed, in the more than 2 weeks that I spent next to my father, this was indeed the first time that I asked him many questions about his life. I knew parts of it, but I did not have the full picture. We were very blessed. My father, until the last few hours when he was asleep already, had a mind sharp as a razor. Like he joked with the doctors. He talked to us. He was sharp on details, on days, on who should we call after he passed away. Like every single thing that we could communicate with him. Oh, he was tired. He spoke very slowly, but we were very blessed. He spoke to us, and when we had questions, he answered them. That's quite amazing. I learned many things that I never knew, and if I would not be there, I would never know about my father. So why should you wait for the last moment, and not doing it over time?
Yeah, I mean the whole process that we go through when we're with our parents, as they are passing, and then ultimately do. It's very very poignant and it's very dynamic. And, you're right, and there's so many things that come out of it, such as getting to know your father better, getting to know your mother, getting to know your siblings. It's a really fascinating time. I think that what we do in Judaism, in terms of the death process, and then ultimately the shiva and the shloshim, etc., it's well thought out.
Um, Psychologically, it's a work of a genius. Of course, we know that most of the laws of Avelut, some of them are from the Torah, but they were developed from the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. Because according to the Torah, the time of Avelut that you are prohibited from doing certain things is only 1 day. But our sages are telling us that already the Beidin of Moshe Rabbeinu, understanding the idea behind the laws of God, developed this 1 day to 7 days of mourning. So this is as ancient as the Jewish people themselves. And as I say, like you really know to appreciate certain things only when you experience it.
Yes. Yes.
And the coping with the mourning, and it's not easy. It's not easy. You have memories, you have the hunting moments, you have regrets, you have things that are final. I'll give you one example. One of the most beautiful notes I got from a former student. um, he said, he wrote to me, um, um, I'm about to care in Rosh Hashanah. So he said, I hope that your father in Shamayim will listen to your tekiyot. And I said, you have no idea how much you counsel me with these words, because one of the moments, I always wanted my father to hear me tokea in the shofar. Not that I brag about it, but I'm sure that he would have lots of nachat if he would hear me, serving in shul as the Baal Tokea, as the person who blow the shofar. And it will never happen. It will never happen. And this is something that bothers me. It's hard for me to accept that it's final. That's it. My father is not returning until Tchiyat HaMeitim. He will not listen to my tikiyot. And like the idea that maybe in Shamayim he listened to it is really comforting. What can I tell you?
Yes. That's a very beautiful thought, Rabbi. Very beautiful thought. Just out of curiosity, how are you with the Tekiah Gedola?
Um,
You're good.
I, I can do a long tekiah. By the way, you should know that the first YouTube I have is not with you, Avrum. Um, I understand the scientific process behind the tekiah. I can tell you that there are many balei tekiah. They are good at what they are doing, but they really don't understand how tekiah is working. I'm sorry to say that. I don't try to minimize others, but there is many people are blowing with the air from their lungs, and they try hard to produce a voice. It's a big mistake. Actually, you don't produce a voice with the shofar. You produce a voice with your lips. The shofar is just like the speaker that magnify and empower the voice that you produce with your lips. And very few people understand it. I guess that people who are playing trumpets or tuba, they understand how it works. But for ballet tekiah, not many understand it. So I put a video, I think 6 years ago, on YouTube. I, I did it in Hebrew. Maybe I had to do it in English too. איך תוקעים נכון בשופר? Like, how do you blow the correct, the right way, the shofar? And in 6 years, I think I have like 6,000 views. And some people even commented that it helped them, which is wonderful. That's why I did it. So I have a one tekiah there of, I believe, 25 seconds. And I explain how, if you do it right, you can schlep it to 40 seconds and 45 seconds. Just because you do it right and you don't fight with the shofar and you don't scream on God like, woo! You have to do it right. It's like a child coming to his father. You don't scream. You just say it nicely, and
Yes.
and it will last for a long time. That's about the
That's
tekiah.
a very lovely thought, Rabbi. You know that on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, I've created what's called the forest shul, and basically I take about, I don't know, 25, 35 people deep into Earl Bales Park, which is near my home, and we sit on these big rocks. Some people bring their own chairs, and I think one of the most magnificent moments throughout the service is when I blow the shofar, because blowing the shofar in nature, there's something extremely symbiotic about that, right? It's this
Absolutely.
natural noise which emanates from this horn, which comes from an animal, and you're blowing it, and the noise, and you feel it's rising through the trees into the sky to the Rabbanu Shalom, and it's a very, very powerful moment for me.
This supposed to be a powerful moment. I wish I could be in the forest at the time of Tkiyat Shofar and to unite myself with nature. Um, it's not going to happen, I guess, very soon. But I can feel, I can imagine to myself. Sometimes when I really need to meditate, I think about being in the forest. I have some strong memories of places that I visited, and I'm in the forest. And sometimes when I'm there in the dentist, and it sometimes turns to be painful. I find myself sitting in a bench in the middle of a forest. There is a beautiful place in Ontario that someone was genius enough to install a bench in the middle of the forest from all places. And I remember like sitting there, I said, wow, I could sit here like for 48 hours, not to move, just to get struck by the nature around me. This was a feeling. Or like imagining like the lakes and the beauty of nature. And you are absolutely right. I can bring you many proofs to your theory from the Talmud itself that actually the doing the Tkiyat Shofar with something that comes from an animal, with no words, with a cry that reminds us a cry of an animal, is exactly the purpose of blowing the shofar. We are looking for something that comes from the most basic level of our existence to communicate with God. And can you have a greater moment than Tkiyat Shofar in a forest or in the middle of nature? I don't think so. So tell me after Rosh Hashanah how it was, because I'm sure it will inspire me, even afterwards.
By the way, you brought up a very interesting point about the bench in the middle of the forest. I'm currently reading a book by Wab Kinew. Wab Kinew is the premier of Alberta, and he's obviously native Canadian. And it's a memoir about his life and about his father, who was a very auspicious native leader as well. Within the book, he talks about when he goes to the top of almost like a mountain, a very high hill, and he draws a circle, and he sits in that circle for 48 hours, 48 hours, as you just mentioned. And there he fasts. He does not drink. He does his very best not to sleep, although he does doze off. And he goes through 48 hours of spiritual contemplation. And it's really quite fascinating how native Canadians ensconce themselves in such moments whereby they really go into their spirit. And he was thinking about his family members. He was thinking about his community. And then he started thinking about the world. And he really, really connected with it. And when those 48 hours were up and he went back to the regular world, he found himself having this incredible appreciation for the world in which he lives and for his family and those whom he loves. And I think
Wow,
that is
that's
similar to the shofar.
amazing thought. You know that in Hasidut, they have the term of hitbodedut, being alone. It's more about like meditating about God in nature, being alone. But Avrum, let's schedule some time, like 48 hours somewhere on the top of a hill. I'll be happy to do it, to try it, and then we can tell our listeners how was it.
It would be
Maybe
wonderful.
we can create a movement of people like the 48 movement. Who knows? It sounds very exciting for me. I'm a person of nature. I love nature. I love see places. Unfortunately, I don't hike much, but you know what? I'll give you like a good advice. I think sometimes people are going to this national park and this national park, and I myself like to go with my wife to all kind of parks here in Ontario, which I find an amazing place. You just have to walk from my house to Errol Bell, which is 5 minutes, and to find yourself in a true nature spot, in a beautiful nature spot. And I'm not talking about like now, the change of colors. You go outside the half an hour drive from the center of Toronto, and just it's the beauty strikes you in the face. It's so beautiful. So I know to appreciate what you are saying about the blowing of the shofar in the middle of the forest. Absolutely. And they say maybe this year, but in my Tkiyat Shofar, I'll try to think about my father. I'll try to think about nature, about the how we converge with nature. Beautiful thought.
Rabbi, I learned this week that there is a condition, actually, surprisingly so, of too much beauty, and artists often go through that, where they are overwhelmed, literally overwhelmed by the colors. And I find in this season, sometimes I'll look out as the trees and the leaves start to change color, and it's almost too much for me, and I'll have to close my eyes.
Oh, wow. I never had such an experience, but you are an artist and I'm not. That's a big difference between us. Although I must tell you, like, one of my strongest experiences is we have friends, good friends, that somehow she got a beautiful painting, only blue, shades of blue, I would say, different shades of blue, on the verge between real and abstract painting, a huge painting. If you look into it, you see yourself actually in a forest next to a brook, and I can sit in front of it like for hours, just to see the beauty of nature. And he created with the shades of light and dark such a magnificent, imposing psychological weight on the eye that it's really every time. It's every time when I go to their house, I have to sit there and just watch it for long minutes, and it always has the same beautiful impact on me, on my soul.
That's great art. That's great art. We probably should spend a few minutes on the Parsha. I think this was a very, very important discussion that you and I have had for the last 55 minutes. And I really appreciate your honesty and openness. I think it'll be very helpful and insightful for many of our viewers and listeners.
Yeah.
So God bless your father's soul. He raised a good son, raised a good boy, and all of your other family members. And your mom should be well. I'd may have asked.
Amen.
This week's Torah portion is Netzavim. It's Deuteronomy 29:9 to 30:20, and it falls out this year, this week, actually, September 20th. The reading is followed by the Haftarah reading from Isaiah 61:10 to 63:9. The Parsha opens with the words, Atem Netzavim hayom kulchem. Excuse me. You are standing here today, all of you, leaders, children, strangers, even those who chop wood and carry water. Everyone is included. The message is clear. No one stands outside the circle. No one stands outside the circle. And then comes one of the Torah's most famous challenges. I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Choose life. It's simple, but it's also profound. What does it mean to choose life in our day-to-day? How do we show up, stand together, and make choices that bring blessings into our world? Let's explore that. Rabbi, what's the imagery you have when Moshe addresses all of Klal Yisrael, the children, the wood chopper, the one who carries water? What's going on here?
This is a farewell from the nation. Moshe Rabbeinu was a leader who cared about every person, and he moved something that the world did not see before, like a nation of slaves leaving their slavery, having a community run by a law and order, divine law and order, people that from being slaves and having no decisions on their own life has to accept a decision for everything they do in their life, bringing them to the promised land. fighting with them, and he knows that very soon he is not going to be any longer with them, and he wants to see everyone, the babies, the older people, the rich people, the scholars, the not so scholars. And it really reminds me on a personal level, when we gathered around the bed of my father, and we asked bracha, like we asked him like directly, because he knew exactly what is happening, we knew what is happening, and instead of going into despair and stress, we wanted to seize a moment. These are the last brachot that he can give us. And I guess that Moshe Rabbeinu find himself like he wants to give the brachot. He wants to leave something in the heart of every Jew, and that's why it was so important that every single Jew would be there. And I'm sure that this sustained them, this memory sustained them for generations to come. Um, I think that when the people attended this amazing event of gathering of the nation, told their children, it made an impact. When they told it to their grandchildren, it made an impact, and so on and so on. And I do think that it echoes until this very day. So no one around us is to tell us what happened there, but this feeling, the powerful feeling of gathering together, to say goodbye to the leader, and the leader is give last instruction to the nation. It's an uplifting moment that I'm sure is still somehow the energies are still in our bodies, in our structure as a nation.
Is there a particular power within the bracha of a dying man?
Um, I do believe so, and I'll tell you why. Because when a person dies, all the shticks, the money, the kavod, all the external things that usually push our life are pushed aside. I don't think that any dying person think about how much he has in the bank, or like how wealthy, or what was his external achievement. You think about, okay, what was my legacy? What did I leave behind me in the world? And the brachot that, for example, my father gave us were really pure about the important things in life, about family, about helping others, about thinking about others. These are the things that my father cared. And if I want to take it to the national level of what we are going to read in this parsha, the last moment of Moshe Rabbeinu were maybe the most important one. This is the distilled nature of Moshe Rabbeinu. Not any more fights with people, not struggles over leadership. This is who I am. This is what's important for me that you will continue to do. Choose life, follow God, be nice to each other. So I don't know if the power of blessings is greater, or the power of the person, and uh, the purity, I would say, in the blessing is much greater. That's how I feel.
Rabbi, who were the wood choppers and the water carriers? Why were they so important to be mentioned in the pasuk?
Because these are the people that usually you don't say even Shalom Aleichem to. These are the people that many times cannot do other things. How much education and intelligence you need to carry water from one place to another. And the Torah wants us to know that every single Jew, no matter how scholarly he is, how wealthy he is, how maybe sometimes dirty he is, I'm sure that the people who are working in chopping woods came back and sometimes went to shul with clothing, and we smell that people did not like. And the Torah wants to tell us, guys, every single one of them is a Jew, is a fellow Jew. And when Moshe Rabbeinu is talking to them, he does not call only the professors and the rich people and the donors. He wants to talk to the elders. He wants to talk to the chotev eitzim, to the chop wooder, to the wood chopper, and to the water carrier. I think it's a very powerful message to every leader of the Jewish people.
Do you have wood choppers and water carriers in your history?
I meet them every single day. Today you call some of them janitors. You sometimes call
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
helpers. You know what? I want to tell you something. Really, how could I miss this one? The people who treated my father. I don't want to share private moment, but my father in the last 2 weeks needed to change his stuff, and he couldn't go even to the washroom. So yeah, I will leave it to your imagination how difficult it is.
Yes. Yes.
You have he had a few people, a few women that, you know what, I will tell you their name. One was Metuka, she was Ethiopian Jew. One was Fatima from the Arab village of Tamara. And they did these things that for most people they would be deterred or unable to do. You know, my father, every single time, um, just thanked them and spoke. He said always like a nice word to Fatima and to the other one. He really knew to appreciate these water carriers or the sick people carriers and the people who bring water to cleaning. He treated them exactly like he said a good morning to the head of the geriatric ward. No difference between the doctor and the person who really did the lowest jobs in the hospital. This is about that. And really, this was unique to my father. He really treated every person with the same respect that he kept to the richest and the wealthiest and the scholars. Every person for him was the most important person of the time. You know, in my hesped, I told the following story. My father hit me only once. It was, I wish someone will hit me again like my father. And it was like I cried a lot. What happened? I came back from home. I was in the fourth grade. And around dinner, I said something that was that the class was disrespectful to the teacher. And I said something. I can't even remember what it was. It was not that bad. My father left the table and he called me to one of the rooms, and he gave me a patch, Avrum. What a patch. And I thank him for this patch until this very day, like a slap that I didn't know where it came, because my father never raised a hand on anybody. He said, you spoke disrespectffully to a teacher. I'm ashamed of myself. He said, not about like, you should be ashamed. He said, I'm ashamed that my son spoke unrespectfully to a teacher. And wow, this lesson goes with me until this very moment. This was the best slap in the face I ever got in my life. I if I had to thank for one thing to my father, it was this one. In one moment, I understood how serious is to respect every person, no matter what. Yeah, and this was him. And I think the Torah is telling us here a Jewish a water carrier is an important person. A wood chopper is an important person. We develop a society that does not measure or judge people upon their bank account or their social status. We judge them because they're part of the Jewish community. And I think it's a huge, huge lesson, especially in a society like today that, achievement is everything.
When you said that your father was embarrassed himself that you had spoken that way to a teacher, it reminded me of something that you said on one of our podcasts, which was the reason that the Kohen Gadol, his death, sets the people free from the or in Miklat, from the cities of refuge, is because he himself had an influence on each and every citizen. And if they went so far as to kill somebody, even if it was by mistake, that was because of his negative hashpah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My father apparently saw this moment as the failure of himself in
Yes.
education. Like this had to be so clear. And again, my father never preached or said you have to be respectful, but it was so much him that I betrayed this character was something that he couldn't stand.
Yes, I get that. Rabbi, there's a line in Deuteronomy 30:12, which goes as follows: "It is not in heaven." And it actually, I'd like to read it to you if you have a second for me. It's a very powerful line, and it's much discussed. Actually, there's a couple psukim. For this commandment that I command you today, it is not hidden from you, and it is not distant. It is not in heaven for you to say, who can ascend to the heaven for us and take it for us so that we can listen to it and perform it. Nor is it across the sea. I love this phrase. Nor is it across the sea for you to say, who can cross to the other side of the sea for us and take it for us so that we can listen to it and perform it. Are these gripping psukim for you? What is your take on them?
This is, I find them one of the most beautiful psukim, and I want to learn this psukim. What the Torah is telling us, is it like a poetry that the Torah says, it's not in the sky, it's not in heaven, it's not here, it's not there, it's like next to you. Like the Torah usually is not going to spend words about like it's not here, it's not there. What is it? Like a children's song? It's in Hebrew there is the lo po, the lo sham, the lo lemala, the lo lemata. What does that mean? I think the Torah highlights something very, very important. Avrum, let's imagine that we would know that a cure to cancer is on the moon.
Yes.
Like someone will tell us, I have cure for all kind of cancer. It's on the moon. You have to bring like a certain rock. I'm telling you, it's going to cure cancer, and it would be true. What humans are going to do? I will tell you what. They will stand on the back of each other in order to reach the moon and to get this. I think the Torah here is saying the following. Actually, if it was there in heaven, you would have to go and to get it. Because this is so important. This is so transformative. Like the ability of a person to live true life, that you should go to I don't know where in order to get it. And actually people are doing it. There are spiritual people who will go to Tibet and to India to find monks and to get some guidance, spiritual guidance, because they feel that their life and the way they live their life is the most important one. They will go and leave sometimes very, very important jobs in order to find peace to their soul. And the Torah here said, let me tell you, if it would be in heaven, you should go and get it. However, God did something incredible. You don't have to go to heaven, although you should. It's in your heart. And this is such a fascinating statement, because you know what? I always tell it, especially to students. This is the beginning of the year. I have here many, many students. I took like a refuge now, like for an hour, who said, I have to switch a teacher. This teacher teaches not in my style of learning, and they might be right. But I say to them exactly what I'm telling you. We, many, many times, look for solutions which are beyond us. Like we think if we will switch school, if we will switch class, if we will have a different teacher, if I would have different parents, my life could be so much better. And the truth is, it's all about you. You look in yourself. You don't try to look to other external things. Change is only within yourself. And that's what the Torah is telling us. Don't look around. Don't blame people for your situation. Don't be a victim of all kinds of circumstances. You have the ability. That what means to be a human being. You can transform yourself. And I think it's the most powerful message of the Torah, if you ask me.
Rashi explains the Torah is not in heaven means that it is not beyond the human reach or comprehension. You don't need prophets or angels to bring it down. It is already given to you in plain language, close at hand for study and practice. In the famous story of Rabbi Eliezer and the oven of Achnai, a heavenly voice declared he was correct, but Rabbi Yeshua stood and said, "It is not in heaven." Once the Torah was given in Sinai, it is no longer decided by miracles or heavenly voices, but through human debate, majority rule, and earthly interpretation. This teaches that the authority of halacha rests with human sages. Can you tell that story of the oven of Achnai very quickly?
The oven of Achnai is a story about the laws of purity, which we don't have today anymore. We are talking at the time of the Second Temple, the last 100 years of the Second Temple, where people kept very strictly the laws of purity. Again, it's very hard to explain over 2 minutes what does that mean, but I will say the following. Because some of us are somehow touched sources of, for example, dead body, or we were in touch with dead body, or with certain other discharges from the body. We are not going to go into it because there is a whole section, and actually the longest section in the Mishnah is talking about the laws of purity, which after the destruction of the temple, we don't have them anymore. And one of the questions was, what happened to an oven that used to be in the house? So the law is that every earthware, once it was defiled, you have no way to take it to the mikveh. When you can take something of metal, you can purify it by taking it to the mikveh, for example, and then you can continue to use it. However, earthware, there is only one way to get rid of the defilement, and this is by breaking it. Mm-hmm. Now, for this reason, people used to do something very smart because they knew that the chances that something is going to be defiled are very high. They built their ovens by chuliot, by parts. Like they had ring, on the ring they had a smaller ring, on the ring they had a smaller ring. Each one of them is called chulia. So when you looked upon the oven, it looked like a snake that is like sitting round and round and round.
A coil.
A coil, but it's like Achnai is actually a snake because here in Canada, in Ontario, you don't see a snake. But I can tell you about one of my experience when a venomous snake was in my sleeping bag in the army, and it's exactly like this. It's like a spiral animal that it looks like this oven. And the question became, what happened if you manage to remove each ring and then like you don't have anymore like the complete oven? Yes. And there was a dispute between Rabbi Eliezer, one of the greatest, if not the greatest sage and scholar of the time, Torah scholar of the time, and his friends. And he proved with all kind of proofs that his opinion is right. And throughout the dispute, he wanted to show them, you argue with me? You know what are my like spiritual powers? And he said, if I'm right, there was a cedar tree outside the place where they sit and learn, and he said it will be uprooted, and a huge wind came and uprooted it. And of course, every one of us would say, he must be right. Of course, you see, even God agree with him. But Chachamim were not too impressed, and they said exactly the pasuk you said, Lo b'shamayim hi. We cannot determine laws according to all kinds of signs, even they come from heaven itself. God gave us the authority to decide upon our brain and our understanding with tools of logic what is the law. He tried another 3 miracles that really happened. The water, for example, instead of being pulled by gravity, they went upstream against the laws of nature. And again, Rabbi Yoshua, a colleague and someone who disagreed upon the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, say it again calmly, Lo b'shamayim. The laws of Torah are not in heaven. They were given to us. We are going to determine, to the point where they actually had to excommunicate him when he continued to argue. And he said, how can you argue with me? And indeed, his scholarship was greater than them. Some of them were his students. But Torah has different way of ruling things. And miracles are not the way we prove our Torah. If we want to talk a little bit about Christianity, where the miracles of Jesus are foundation to believe in Jesus, by us it's nothing. Like miracles play very little role in our beliefs. And the story about Tanuro shel Achnai, the oven of Achnai, of this snake, is a perfect example how things have to be determined by the scholars of Torah, no matter how much support you get from heaven itself.
Rabbi, wasn't part of the story where they actually called upon God?
Did they? I can't remember.
I thought they called upon God, and God said, "You're right." Torah lo b'shamayim.
Nitzchuni banai, like God actually sided with Rabbi Eliezer according to this story, but he said Nitzchuni banai, like, no, you won over me because I wrote in the Torah that you have to follow the majority, so now I cannot retract my things, which is an amazing idea by itself.
It is.
Like God himself declined his authority and gave it to the sages, the scholars of the day, which at the same time, by the way, put a huge and enormous responsibility on their shoulders. We usually speak about it in admiration that God declined to decide upon these kind of things. But I think the message is much greater. Since God is not going to be involved, how much responsibility you have on your shoulders to try and to decide the closest you can to what God would say.
Yeah. And you know what? There's two pieces in the Torah where I the way I interpret it is that God sort of let go of his authority for a moment, and he said, "You know what? You make a good point. One of which is Pesach Sheni, right? When you bring the clothes, right? That for those people who are unable to bring the first one, God said, "Okay, we'll make a Pesach Sheni. We'll make a second one." And then the other one was the Beno Slavchad. They said we deserve our father's legacy as inheritance, and God said, "Okay, we're going to adjust that." Right?
Absolutely. And you know what? Even more than that, I would say this is really the most important issue when you talk about prophecy itself. You have to remember that if things would be determined by heavenly voices or external powers, let's put it this way, there are people who could deceive you to have these kind of powers, and maybe they do have these powers. I don't know. Maybe some people can have these powers of doing all kind of miracles. It's a big question if the ancient trickery and magics was real or not. I'm not going into it. You know me, I'm quite a reasonable person. It's hard for me to believe that a person can change nature. It's more about illusions. But there are many opinions, and I respect them, that actually there are people who can change things. But the Torah said, for example, if one of them will tell you that you have to violate a commandment in the Torah, you should not listen to him or to her, even if they change the laws of nature, because this is not what important. The important thing is what the Torah said. And I think this is revolutionary, because most people will be much more impressed by a miracle rather than following the written letter. And this is also something that someone said about my father. He said, Abba Shelcha lo haya ish shel moftim. He did not do miracles, like Hasidic Rebbes, and that sometimes they do all kind of moftim, miracles. But he was ish lemofet. He was like a super person. And indeed, I think it's in Hebrew, it's beautiful. Like Baal Moftim is someone who is perform miracles, and ish lemofet means like a superb, dignified person. And this was my father, indeed. He was not doing miracles. I think that he himself, like, I don't think he was a great believer in this kind of miracle that all kind of holy people are doing. And I'm not saying it in dismissing them. He once told me something very interesting. He said, a person who believe all the miracles that Hasidim are telling about their Rebbe are full. How can you believe like this story? But if you don't believe that the Rebbe could do them, you are Apicorus.
Yes. Yes, I've heard that.
So you understand you are in a very fine line here. I don't want to dismiss any miracle, but we are not a religion of miracles. We are a religion of logic, of reason. And therefore, the Torah is very clear about it. Lo b'shamayim, it's not about heaven, it's about the tools that Hashem gave us how to determine laws from the Torah itself.
Do you like magic?
I love magic.
You
I love
magic, do you?
Absolutely. I love it. I love it.
Okay, we'll get into that another time.
Yeah.
Rabbi, I want to conclude with a poem about Netzavim. I've been playing around with AI.
Thank you.
Atem Netzavim hayom kulchem. We are standing, all of us, leaders and children, strangers, wood choppers, water carriers, woven into one circle, no thread too small to be missed. The covenant does not whisper, it calls us by name, binding past to present, root to branch, reminding us we belong. Each breath is counted, each life is essential. And then the Torah places fire in our hands, life and death, blessings and curse, the simplest of words, the weightiest of choices. Choose life, it says, not only survival, but fullness, compassion, the courage to stand for one another, to bring blessing into the dust of our days, to kindle hope in a weary world. Isaiah's song rises after, I will greatly rejoice, for salvation is not a dream, but a garment worn close to the skin, woven in justice, stitched with mercy. We are standing, you, me, all of us, on the edge of this year's turning, Elul's last breath before the shofar's call. Ask again, how will you choose? Where will you stand? What life will you bring forth?
Beautiful.
We say on the high holidays, who shall live and who shall die? God decided that this year your father would die. So this is a very important year to you and your family, and really all of Klal Yisrael, because the portion tells us how important each and every one of us are to each other. So in conclusion, I just really want to repeat what I said before, which is I did not know your father, but I do know you. And I do know what a magnificent human being you are. And I know that that can only happen having had a wonderful father and a wonderful mother, Admeva Esrim. And I thank you so much for being so open and honest about your feelings about your father, your stories about your father, and bringing him to life for us. My father, Zacharenu Livracha, used to say that really the best way of remembering somebody is to actualize their gifts. What they brought to their world, you complete it yourself. You do it yourself. And in your father's case, he was obviously a very fine man, and that continues on in you. So kol hakavod. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you very much. As you said, mi yechia mi yamut, I think to myself, everyone eventually dies. But maybe it's ma yechia ma yamut. There are things that my father will never die. The thing that we inherited, the things we got from his traits and personality will never die.
Yes.
Will never die. There are parts in life sometimes that you will not remember because they were not as important. But really, education, it's mi yechia mi yamut is talking about the same person. What in a person's personality is going to live forever, and what is going to be forgettable, because this is not the important things in life. And when people come and say, I'm sorry for your loss, I say, what are you talking about? not only I didn't lose my father, he's now sitting here in my heart, and everything I do, I think, will be my father happy with it or disappointed with it? So not only I did not lose my father, I actually gained him back.
Was this talk good for you?
I will tell you the next time. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Rosh Hashanah is coming up. God willing, we won't be back here next week because it is actually on Tuesday when we generally do the podcast. But we wish you well. We wish you, like the nurse who took care of your father, Mituka, a sweet year. I love that that's her name, by the way. I just love it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful name.
Oh, just a stunning name. And she's Ethiopian, so she probably took it on when she came to
And
Israel.
very special lady. I spoke to her afterwards, and you see this like Chotvei Etzim and Shoavei Mayim. She told me very proudly her son is a high commander in Golani. Can you imagine like these people who walked by foot to Eretz Israel? They wanted to come to Eretz Israel. They found themselves really in the lowest, sometimes lowest social echelon. But here is the most Jewish thing. Her son is successful. Her son is commanding soldiers. He is protecting Medinat Israel. How great it is. And therefore, like, we forget sometimes this woodchopper, you don't know who is his son. He might be the greatest person on earth.
Yes. Yes. Well said. Well said. I also want to add in conclusion, sometimes you and I are like my mother, God bless her soul, who she never knew how to get off the phone. She would just keep on giving blessings. In my shir on Thursday nights, I encouraged my students to up their level of chesed, because my belief is that the higher the level of chesed, the less of a chance that evil has in our world, that chesed trumps evil. And the more we do, the more successful we will be as humankind and creations of God. Well, I got a phone call from one of my students. He's a lovely human being, just generous of spirit. And he said, I heard what you said, and I really want to actualize what you just said. Long story short, that today, after going back and forth, I introduced him to a contact of mine in Sfat. And this woman is a magnificent human being, Rabbi, takes care of everybody. She was responsible for getting sponsorship for 50 bomb shelters during this past war and having them delivered and set up. She introduced us to this woman who's a single mother. She's an immigrant from Russia with a child 4 years old and a child 1 year old. The long and short of it is the student from my class is now helping to support this woman who lives in Sfat.
Amazing story.
These are the things that keep me going. And I would suggest very strongly to our listeners here and to our viewers here, up your level of chesed. When you head into Rosh Hashanah, see what you can do, which is different than you've been doing before. Find another mitzvah that you embrace, that you love, and actualize it. Make it great. Because the greater we are, the more chesed we have in the world, the more kindness we have in the world, the less of a chance that evil has. Any concluding words, Rabbi?
You know what? I would like to conclude this show with your words. They are very powerful. They resonate with me, and I hope they resonate with others. Let's, as they said, utshuva, utfila, utzdaka, ma'avirin et roa gzeira. So tzedakah in our community is, something that everyone can do on different levels. Let's come even more ready for Rosh Hashanah.
Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for listening. It's been an absolute delight. I have to tell you that over the summer, Rabbi Gemara had some very big challenges, and I missed him. I missed doing the show with him. I'm so happy that you're back. Thank God.
I'm happy to be back.
Shana Tova, until we meet again. We very much appreciate your time. And if you have any questions or any ideas, please be in touch with us. Happy New Year to you.